back.
Okay, I just had something funny happen. Hold on a second.
Funny haha or funny ooh?
Ooh. Okay, hold on. I'll tell you in just a second. Okay. So, remember I was telling you about the dinosaur dream?
I actually didn't hear that, but yeah.
Jerry doesn't pay attention in his own show.
I'm a male, and I'm single tasking. And when I'm dealing with chat and getting questions together, no.
All right, we'll wait till Niche gets back, then I'll tell you both. So, what have you been up to lately, man? Besides doing the show, what are you up to?
Nothing, just working.
You're still working from home mostly?
Yeah. 2 days a week. And let's see what else. I've been doing some sky observations for a while. I do moon videos. I don't know if you saw my channel. I've got like 80 or 90 moon stuff. And
oh wow. I'll have to take a look at them.
Sun, I film shit that I shouldn't be able to see, basically.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you using some kind of interesting lenses, or what do you...
Regular old camera, Nikon P900.
Yeah?
Yep. It's
you talk to Sean at all?
Sean
Gautreaux?
Never heard of him.
Never. Oh, you never seen the shows? You know with Sean Gautreaux? Sean Gautreaux is the man with the eyes to see, dude. Check out his channel. His channel is Industrial Surrealism.
Yeah.
He's the one who's documented hundreds of hours of the cloud cloaked craft.
Oh, well, I'm talking about more things. I meant what I can't see. Things that okay, that's cool. I will check that out. The things that I can see that I don't think I should be able to see are like sunspots or details on the moon, craters, things like that. It's too far away to get that visual clarity.
But it's not that far away.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
that's my conclusion.
One guy, I was talking to this guy one night at a party, and he was telling me about one time when he ate mushrooms, and he was like looking at the moon, and he could see blades of grass on the moon.
Oh, wow.
Like he was looking through like a little telescope, like not a powerful one, just like a regular one, and you could actually see grass growing on the moon, whatever he thought he was looking at. You know what I mean? He said it was the weirdest thing. Like it was not something he was thinking about or looking for or whatever. He just all of a sudden was like, I can see blades of grass on the fucking moon. So Niche, you want to know something great, funny that just happened?
Lay it on me.
All right. So remember I was telling you about the weird dinosaur dream?
Yes. In the beginning.
While we were doing the show, I got this email from my sister. She said, last night I was reading Carter books at bedtime. We read a dinosaur book that Dad and Joy got for him. It had a little wheel you could turn to make stars twinkle. Amongst the stars was a shooting star. Carter asked what it was, and I told him shooting stars are special, and if you see one, you should make a wish. Then we were reading his Noisy Digger books, and he was pointing out all the different trucks he wanted to get. And I said he just got so many toys for Christmas from Dad, Joyce, and Emily that he didn't need anymore. And he said he was going to wish for them he wished on a shooting star for them. But isn't that crazy? So
that is sinks jinx.
The dinosaur book, right, last night. And then I just had like the dinosaur pop out. So I just thought that was so weird.
This is kind of my definition of like God without making it a weird supernatural thing. It's like synchronicity like that.
Yeah. Yep. That is weird.
Very cool.
Okay, I should have brought this up during the show, but did you guys ever follow Melissa Melton and Aaron Dykes? Their channel is Truth Stream Media, and she made that video. It was probably like a month ago, or maybe about where she was talking about how something weird was going on in their house, and that basically everyone in the house was basically dreaming the same dreams every night.
Jerry, will you link me to that? Jerry's on it. Jerry's on everything. At him.
Yeah. And it was like, basically like the dreams would be slightly different, but they would all have certain details that were exactly the same. And it's been going on, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was weird. And so it makes me wonder, a lot of us live alone. So we don't talk to the other, or we just haven't, we don't talk about our dreams to the people we live with or the people who live next to us. Like, I wonder if that happens, like in apartment buildings, does everybody have the same dream at night?
So I'm super fascinated by that, and Jerry just linked me that, so I'm going to dive into it, and maybe we should have this person on too. They don't.
We've asked them on the show before, and they don't seem. It's weird. Like, so Melissa and Aaron defected from Alex Jones. Like, they were one of the first defectors, right? And their work is amazing. They were good when they were on the show, but their work is amazing. But I think part of they do very few interviews. And I think part of it is because everybody wants to ask them about the Alex Jones shit, and they're not allowed to talk about it because you signed a non-disclosure when you work with them.
Of course.
So they get tired of that. And then I think also they really wanted to be taken seriously. So I think they're afraid to involve themselves with certain things. But as more distance has grown between when they were there and now, they've gotten into fringier and fringier topics, and they're starting to be blackballed from sort of some of the more mainstream alternative stuff that they used to get invited on. So I feel because of the fact that they're getting fringier.
Right.
I asked them on the show over a year ago and just didn't get a response. And so I feel like maybe if I ask them again, I might get a response this time, but we just haven't done it. But yeah, they give very few interviews, but yeah, like it would be interesting for sure. Since their show is about dreams. Yeah, she might respond because because on that particular topic, because she was so confused about what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's the one thing. That's why we separate. Like, this is our woo show. This is the post Horis. And this is where we can really dive into the wild. And even though our dream show does go there, because we usually have very interesting people on, and interesting people are into the woo. We only have interesting people on. And so it's hard to separate that. But I think because it is about dreams and dreaming, more people have an ear that will say yes, you know?
Yeah.
So you totally triggered me on something talking about the shared dreams, besides the fact that we talked about it before.
She triggered me on many things, in a good way.
Yeah, no. Well,
I should have come with a trigger warning.
I'm still thinking, you should come with it. I'm remembering the conversation you had with Andrew Bishago about the visor that taught you shit. Mm-hmm. You know, I want one of those. But anyway, I forgot what I was going to say.
She triggered you on something. And we're leading into
that. Shared dreams. I remember hearing Andrew Bartz's talk about this.
He calls us a dreamtime society.
Yes. And that we're slowly heading back that way, and there will come a time, he didn't say when, but there will come a time when the kids are going to start doing it first, and then adults will have it. It's going to be a gradual thing, but it's going to start with the kids. I don't know if he meant like
with dream sharing.
Yes, with dream sharing, deja vu with another person who has deja vu at the same time, that kind of shit. Like you look at someone on the street, deja vu, and you both say that like it's jinx.
Oh my God, I want that to happen. I've not had that happen.
So, so the shared dreaming thing, like I guess it's just not something that like I ever really thought about. The first time I ever heard it talked about was years ago, before I knew Randy personally. He had these two kids on his show who he had met at one of the gatherings that he had done with Duncan O'Finian and Miranda Kelly. And they were talking about, I guess some people at the gathering experienced some shared dreams at the gathering. And I guess these two brothers had been experiencing it quite a lot. And so I don't know if they were twins or just brothers. So that was the first time that I heard about it and started thinking about it. And then my friend Mia, who I was talking about her earlier she has the different New York in her dreams or whatever. She and I were like for a little while trying to see if we could meet up in our dreams, more like meet up than it was like a shared dream. And so around the time that we were trying to do that, though, I was having a lot of that stuff in my dreams where like people were trying to convince me they were someone when I didn't think they really were. So I kind of pulled back from trying to do that because something about it felt weird to me. But yeah, I think it's so it's interesting that basically Melissa was saying how she and Aaron and one of their children, or maybe both of their children, were having this sort of kind of thing happen on a semi-regular basis, and that they don't have Wi-Fi in their house, and they've done they don't have a smart meter or anything like that. So they, think it's likely not that, even though neighbors have those things, you could be being affected by it. But, I wonder, I do think this is something that humans probably do naturally, or can do, or maybe like Andrew says. I think Andrew has a lot of really interesting ideas. I'm not down with him on everything, but I think he has some ideas that are really interesting that I like. But we also know that like when they understand that humans have the ability to do something, or that some sort of ability is going to be coming online, fuckers will try and do something to manipulate or take over that or whatever. And sometimes I wonder if that's what this frequency soup is really all about, particularly like 5G. And like when I moved into the house I'm living in now, they forced a 5G router on me, and like,
oh my God.
Yeah. I don't know if it's activated actually yet. Like I think that
but it will be, Emily.
Well, what's a 5G router?
So it's basically.
I know what a router is. Is it? Do you have mobile data internet? Is that why? Like
This is like 5G is like this new thing, the new thing that they're really, really pushing for. That's going to help make everything part of the Internet of Things.
No, I know that. I know.
Right.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I know what it is. I was wondering what this device is. Is it an actual mobile 5G?
It's a really. I'll show you. It's like a really large. It's like a huge. It's huge. It's here. It's right there. It's big. It's like 3 times bigger than it's the size of a notebook, like a record, a vinyl record or something like that.
Like my Xfinity box.
Right, but this is just the router for the internet. I don't think it's actually activated yet. But one of the things I started noticing was I was having very, very, very strange dreams, and so I started unplugging the router before I went. Well, actually, one night I pulled the router. I unplugged the internet for a different reason, and I slept for that night with it off, and I slept much better. So then I started unplugging the router every night, and every once in a while I'll fall asleep with the router on because I'm watching a movie or something like that. And then sometimes I'll have the really strange, what I call inserted dreams on those nights when I fall asleep with the router on.
See, now, well, this is me. I don't think there's a multifaceted, coordinated effort to do this. I think there are probably many things that allow that to happen naturally. And some people have realized that and have taken advantage of it.
Sure. Yeah.
For a lot of things. For a lot, not just this, but I don't think there's I accept that there could be dream insertion. Totally. I mean,
or even if they're not intentionally being inserted, if whatever
it's broadcast.
These frequencies are happening are somehow picking up, like, whatever. Like, we don't even know how. Is it possible that some of these frequencies interact with humans' consciousness, and so
Absolutely.
I'm getting things from other people's minds and things like that? So I agree. I agree with you that.
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of this is just happens. Like, I do think that I would take a little bit of a different stance than you. I do think that some of this is coordinated, but not as much as a lot of conspiracy theorists would like to have you believe.
Yeah.
I think there is some, but I think a lot of times what happens is they do things for completely separate or individual reasons, and then they recognize, oh, this phenomenon is starting to happen. Let's see if we can play that up, or let's see if we can manipulate.
They'll find a synergy and take advantage. Yeah, that's what I'm. It's the Joker from Batman 1 putting a little bit of poison in everything.
Yeah.
And then when you combine
it.
Right. But the Joker, in our case, is extra construct, is not part of it. It's the control system. It's the AI. It's the OI.
Right.
It's the organic intelligence that runs this construct, basically.
Right.
Well, we're swimming in the waves. And so once this 5G is totally online and the Internet of Everything is bouncing from all these devices, we're going to be swimming in it more, which also brings us into one of the things that I wanted to get Emily's take on. And because Jerry and I talk about this, the whole idea of the liquid reality, right?
Yep.
Yeah. The idea that air is actually liquid. We just can't.
Oh, okay.
It's less dense.
Yeah.
It's less dense than water. So it appears like a gas to us, but it could actually be a very, very thin liquid. And these are scuba suits, basically.
Yeah.
In space.
In space is, some other kind of liquid. Or
like I think so. I think it's entirely possible that space is either water or some kind of more like viscous fluid than water is, like a little bit like the different,
less viscous.
More viscous or less viscous.
It has to be less the way they move if they're really up there. Just with
but there's some very interesting video of things moving that really, like Sean Gautreaux, who I was mentioning to you, like he videos, these cloaked crafts, craft that basically cloak themselves in cloud kind of thing. But some of them, the way that they move, look a lot like the way certain jellyfish or stingrays or things like that kind of move.
Thank you.
And
yes.
so, and another thing that Crow pointed out really that I find very interesting is that when he catches some certain things related to the lunar wave and things going on with the moon, it looks a lot like when you're in the swimming pool at night and there's the light at one side of the swimming pool and the way it looks. Yeah. So
that's exactly how I described it.
It's possible that we're in some kind of bubble or containment system or under some kind of dome or firmament or whatever, and that there's water on all sides of it. And so, you know what I mean? And it may be, I don't know if it's the same water that we have like in the ocean, but have you even watched those videos of like, they have them sometimes like on National Geographic or Discovery, where they'll take those things that look sort of like spaceships or UFOs down to like really, really deep spots in the ocean.
Yeah.
And on the floor, on the bottom of the ocean, there'll be like a reservoir of other water that is thicker, more saline water. And all the animals or the creatures or the bacterias or the different sponges and stuff that live down there live around that like it's like a lake, just the way humans build their houses around their vacation house around the lake. All these creatures know that that's like the good expensive property, right? That's where like and it's like a thicker, more viscous kind of water. Yeah. So it's like a lake inside the ocean. Also, like why are the naval ships from all the major countries blocking the Mariana Trench, right? Why are there areas?
Dude, don't get me started. We can't go anywhere. Look at Antarctica.
Get started, Jerry. Get started.
Yeah. Well, like why are?
I've heard tale of land beyond the Great Ice Wall.
Yeah, you know what I mean? For sure. Obviously, all the stuff with Antarctica, like I think what's really down there is like an entrance to a world within a world.
No,
you know what I mean?
There's nothing down there. It's the fucking ice wall. We're on a giant ball, if it's a ball. Giant ball. 1 million times the size of what we're told. And I think it's like hexagons of ice. Little divots.
So you don't think there's anything within it, Jerry? Like
it's water.
Earth?
I think it's water. I think we're all like islands in pockets on, if it's a ball, because we can't measure curvature anywhere. And we can't, there's too many problems with it, okay? And with the whole spinning
I don't
ball.
know. It could be. I don't think it's a ball. I don't know that it's flat. I don't understand why it has to either be a ball or flat. Like I think there's other possibilities.
I agree, Emily.
I also don't think it necessarily has to be the same thing all the time. Like I think that like we're dealing with I think that energy around it is toroidal. So sometimes what I imagine is like a flat disc with then like a toroidal kind of round shape around it.
Exactly what it is.
And then
toroidal says it all.
Within that, like above the disc, there's like an upside down triangle. And below the disc, there's a right side up triangle. And there's energy flows through that way. Like I don't think we're living like in a static environment. I think it might not be moving through space at millions of miles an hour, so it might be static that way. I think the energy of this place is constantly moving, changing, morphing, whatever. Like I have this experience where like, I swear to God, when I was like in my 20s and even in my 30s, it took 3 hours to get to Las Vegas. Now it takes 5. Is it getting farther away? It's expanding. Like what is going on? But you know what I mean? Like San Francisco seems to be 3 hours closer than it was when I was little. Like
it's always been 5. Check this out. It's like this from above. It's like a flat disc with like the bottom of a bunt pan. You know, I don't even know what the shape is.
Yeah.
But you got a ring. It's like a half a donut.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's probably a full donut. It's a full donut, but the earth is the layer in between. It's the cream in the donut. Okay.
Yeah. It's a jelly, huh?
Now, if it's jelly, eh? That's from Strange Brew. Strange Brew. I love it. I love that. He's a genius. Eh? He hooked up our stereo. Okay. If it's toroidal, that toroid's formed by something. Doesn't matter. That could be the firmament, could be the Van Allen radiation belts.
Right.
What it will definitely do is cause refraction.
Oh yeah, I think we're dealing with all sorts of weird, like light bending, refracting things appearing one way, and you know what I mean. Like I even think that like part of the reason for all of the spraying is to distort our perspective on what we're looking at.
I'm getting that feeling myself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I think
it's twofold. I think one is there's really specific times I do it, especially for me, and it's all about me, right? Because it's going to affect me, and I'm noticing it. I'm going to attract it towards me, obviously.
You are your sun.
Right. So it seems specific times in the day when they do it, and it completely blocks out the sun. It makes me always think there must be some kind of frequency or energy coming off the sun that is good for you, or will do something which would make you not like them anymore.
And that does tie into old narratives, right? The sun worshiping that you see, right?
Sun worshiping, and also, one of the health phenomenons that's been going on lately is people like being extremely vitamin D deficient.
Yes.
Like, so a friend of mine, her partner, was having some health problems and went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "You have 0 vitamin D." And he's like, "I've never seen somebody with none." This guy is a forager. He is outside picking mushrooms and shit every day. How is it possible that he has no vitamin D unless the frequency is intentionally being blocked? You know what I mean? Like,
wait a minute. I think Lisa Harrison said that.
Well, I take huge amounts of vitamin D because I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's a long time ago, and I left the medical system and am fine. But once I stopped believing in that, and I'm still alive. I don't take thyroid medicine, and they told me I'd die. I'm still alive years later. But the vitamin D medicine is what I'm saying. The huge doses I take, somehow I'm not getting it as a gardener, as a permaculture person. I'm not getting it, and I wasn't getting it, and I developed a vitamin D deficiency that played into a disease called Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. What the fuck? If you're in the sun.
Well, that's one of the things that I've noticed also is that
it's not the sun.
Or it's not the sun.
Exactly.
I or sometimes it's the sun and sometimes it's not. Like I run for like 6 or 7 miles. So I usually run for about 2 hours a day, about 4 days a week, right? Sometimes a little, sometimes more. And like sometimes of the year I get a lot of sun. And other times it's like I'm not getting any sun, even though I'm out there for just as long. It's weird. Like right now, I'm not getting any sun. Like even when I'm out, like the other day, I had been sick, so I was just walking the path that I usually run. So it took me like a lot longer. So I was out there for literally almost 3 hours, and I got no sun.
And you were in sunny LA. That needs to be restated. Right. It's not like you're where I am in the Pacific Northwest.
It was 80 degrees. You know what I mean? And it was hot. You know what I mean? And so like it's weird. I don't think, and sometimes we were talking about this in a conversation I had the other day. Like sometimes I feel like they use like whatever the moon is, the sun. It's actually the same thing, and they're projecting different things off of it.
No, the moon is the moon. The moon represents the invasion, the invader, the alien, the thing that's in our the distortion in our field.
Right, but we don't have the same sun we used to have. We used to have a sun that was yellow or orange and warm, and now we have this white, weird, shimmery thing.
It's visually
has like this copper opalescence to it.
Yeah,
that, like if they're trying, let's just say that they're hiding the real sun from us, but they want us to still think there's a sun. Who's to say they're not making some kind of projection off of the moon to convince people it's the sun when it's really?
I have a hard time believing that humans control that. Or can control that.
So what? So
what?
Yeah, I know. So that does bring us into that territory.
Yeah.
Human versus non-human.
Are you hearing that robot voice out of her?
Yeah, Emily, you're roboting.
That's interesting.
You are totally roboting. Ooh, girl.
I pissed somebody off, right?
Oh my God, it's intense.
No,
so it's not just your voice.
It's you. Everything. You're projecting it. You're excited.
I'm turning into a robot.
You turned reptilian on us.
No, your energy was distorting the microphone.
No, it was totally a distortion field. It was
It was coming from your throat chakra.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
okay.
It is blue.
So I don't know. Like I sometimes think that we're in some kind of like organic I feel like whatever this is, we're in some kind of containment system or simulation that was originally very like organic. Like there was like a biological technology to it that was sort of symbiotic with us, right? But it's always been like it's like has sensors all around for us, like you know what I mean, and we for it. And I think one of the things that's happening, like with people, especially like with this, you know, we obviously there's all this talk about fear of like an AI takeover. I think one of the things that's happening is this simulation or the containment system is somehow something or someone or whatever is trying to transform it from being like a biologically technological, organic technology into a more mechanized, robotic kind of technology. And I think that like the introduction of all of these disharmonic frequencies and a lot of these particles and things like that is to try and, you know, turn it into something that is more machine-like than it originally was.
Let me, you just gave me like a bunch of great thoughts on this. What if like the original, whatever the original is, that was all organic, right? To us, it looks organic, but
right.
But okay. So then we develop technology,
yeah.
right? Which when we say technology or digital anything, you think robots. It's all what's in your mind, right? Of what technology is. So most people think technology is, you know, robots, internet, and Wi-Fi, and yada yada, apps and phones. Okay,
right.
But human.
Those are copies. Those are copies of the original organic biological technology.
Yes, because that's what I was just getting to. Is that human cells are, in and of themselves, nanobots. It's just a different type of technology. We're so caught up in this belief system or filter or whatever the fuck you want to call it, programming, right? The technology means the future means, you know, all this. So what if they're on purpose harming the environment? So it has to move towards the digital. Sure. That you know, that could be too. It could be a squeeze play.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I think
like they're doing to us, you know,
where it's best. I think it's best. I mean, this is the best for kind of seeing everything that's going on. In Fringe, the observers had created this future where they had basically everything was, you know, they had technology inserted in their bodies and they were trying to starve the environment of oxygen and whatever as it was becoming increasingly mechanized and technological. So yeah, like I think, you know, the question is who or what is doing that or what is driving that? Is that just something, I mean, you know, like, even though our reality seemed organic to us, like at one time, this may have been the technology from another civilization. We're living in it, and it seems natural to us because it's what we've always known. And one of the things that, just like humans have this tendency to want to externalize everything, they also want to build copies of things, and they want to build copies of those things that are mechanized or digital or robotic. So are we just mimicking the system that we come from?
And that in and of itself is the Luciferian rebellion.
Yeah.
You know, I can't make organic stuff. I'm going to make a copy of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's an archetype. It's built into us that because this will sound crazy. Probably not crazy, really. I just thought of it. Because we are all God, but we can't remember that. It's some kind of archetype. It's some kind of thing in us that makes us want to do that, to try and snap us out of forgetting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I actually think that one of the things that's going on with this whole cryptocurrency and blockchain thing, like I think people are getting caught up in the money aspect of it, but I think the more interesting part to pay attention to is the inner workings of it, because I think we can learn about how our reality really functions by paying attention to it. Mm-hmm. Randy Remote viewed the blockchain and he said what he saw was mechanized DNA strands.
Right. Well, I've held for a while the opinion that the DNA is organic blockchain technology. It's organic blockchain technology, and well,
that's what it looks like.
No, I know. It's like, and the Satoshi came up with, or whatever that was, that came up with the blockchain algorithms and everything, is a model of DNA. It's nothing more. Yeah. So in that, I have to agree with Quinn Michaels that it is a storage mechanism that can be mined and used by multiple things because it's distributed, yada, yada, yada. Whether or not an AI built it, I have no idea.
Well, I think
which
don't,
is possible. But
it doesn't matter.
But I think what either way, whether it's an AI that built it or a human that built it, what it's interested in is everybody participating in it. And so a lot of what it's actually mining is humans' energy, humans' creative energy, humans whatever, like
no, not really.
in some way, right? Like no, I mean think about the amount of time and focus that people spend thinking about cryptocurrencies and dealing with that now that they used to spend thinking about.
You could say the same with football,
Sure, absolutely. I completely agree with that. But I think for me, the most interesting thing about the cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and whatever is to think about how it works and how it functions, and then sort of from there expand that out into. I think we can learn a lot about how this reality was created. I think part of what's happening with cryptocurrencies is they're trying to create a new reality, even if it's just an economic or a financial new reality. You know what I mean? So, but I think it is modeled after how this reality that we're living in right now.
I disagree, but I'll think about it.
Yeah.
I just don't see how it would. I have a really wacky view of reality anyway, so I just don't. I can't see a machine. Here's the deal. So our reality is controlled by consciousness, right? You agree to that, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like the collective consciousness rules reality.
Yeah.
So that would mean that the blockchain would then have to connect to the collective and be part of it.
But look at what's happening. Like look at the way whether it depends. I mean, I understand that people view it from a different perspective, but like the way, right, especially during the last 6 months. Like it is growing and becoming a thing, and people are getting involved in it who don't even understand anything about it. It's the way it is expanding and growing is functioning as creating a consensus reality. Like people just have to agree that this stuff is actually of value and of work and worth something, and that's what's making it worth something. There's nothing backing it. It's just another fiat currency. But if you can get enough people to think it's a thing, then it's the same as it being a thing.
That may be true for some. Some coins are actually are asset backed. Some are actually
right. But in general,
you're right. Yeah, it's a virtual coin, so it has it has no intrinsic value. I mean, you talked to Cliff High on your show about it, and he explained it perfectly. So there's benefits, there's not benefits, but it's a choice. You don't have to make it. I do like his take on. I don't know if he's talked about this yet on your show. But on a couple other ones, that the cryptocurrencies are going to provide a mattress upon which the U.S. dollar will collapse and soften the blow and pick up that extra space. So, I think it's if that's true, it's beneficial. I don't really see a problem with it.
But all reality is consensus based. We're all agreeing. With three of us are agreeing. We're on this live stream, or not live.
Recording.
We're all sitting in our rooms and we're all agreeing on these parameters in which we are functioning. How is cryptocurrency any different?
Yeah. It's not a question of whether it's a good thing or a bad thing necessarily. I've had, at one point I was extremely anti or hostile, and I still am mostly for me, in a lot of ways, it's an intuitive no on cryptocurrencies, but I don't see it as I'm right, you're wrong, I'm good, you're bad thing. I think it's just choice. It's here. We agree that it's something is going on with that. I'm at this point choosing really more to observe it than to participate. I actually think some of the phenomenon that it's creating is quite interesting, and some of the people who are involved in creating this and who really know the inner workings of it. The philosophy, when you listen to them talk, they're almost they have a philosophy about it or a whole thing. It's kind of like listening to Randy and I talk about the things we talk about, right? And the metaphysics of the cryptocurrencies can be a metaphor for a lot of other things. So it's fascinating to observe it. And I just feel some people are going to make the choices to fully go down the cryptocurrency route. Others are going to choose not to. Some are going to kind of vacillate between the two, and that's all fine and okay, because it creates an interesting conversation and we can all observe what each other are doing. I don't think it's about like whether one's okay with it or not okay with it. I think it's an individual choice. But I have actually really enjoyed speaking to people who I even totally disagree with, like, because the conversations that spring from it are actually quite interesting if people don't so emotionally attached to whatever their position about it is.
Yeah, like the one you did with Cats and Cliff High, and
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any negative things towards it other than there's still a middleman, There's
still a middleman, but and part of what got me hopeful with all of it was that there wasn't a middleman. And I'm more of an open source girl, and so that's what hooked me into initially. And then each coin has a whole different thing, it's bringing to the table.
Some of them are very interesting.
Yeah, on the blockchain technology. And so I like the transparency. I like a lot of the base laurels that are way different than the paradigm in which we live now, where there's always a middleman, where there's always someone in control, and there's no transparency. You can't track it. You can't see it. Right. You don't know what's happening. You have to trust what people are telling you.
And that's what I like is it's a trustless system because everyone can look up everything.
You can look and see where's the money. Well, here we can actually follow it now.
So it depends. Obviously, because we've been dealing with a situation where like the people in charge can't be trusted. So I can see the benefits of having a trustless situation. But like for some of us, like the actual reality that we're interested in building is one where there's transparency and you can trust, right? Where we don't have to like build this technology to prevent us from everybody because we can't trust them, where we actually like, value people for like who they are and what they contribute and whatever. And we actually know the people we interact with and we trust them and the relationships are built on trust. So there's that, some ways the cryptocurrencies take us farther away from that, but I understand there's also.
I would give you an argument against that.
Yeah, please.
Sure, because what you're talking about, that end goal is 100 years away, maybe 150.
Sure, this could be a minute.
We're right on this cusp, right? And in order to do that now, we have to play by the rules, by their rules. So we need fiat currency. And a good way to make that now is through cryptocurrency. In addition to that, there's going to be a rebalancing of wealth in the crypto market. You're going to see a lot more smart people getting rich fast than, Elon Musk's and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I actually think that like some of the creative technology that this stuff is inspiring, can be down the road will be more like effective for the way we want to use it. You know what I mean? And maybe there won't be much of a middleman. One of my biggest problems with the whole thing is that it's based on like NSA codes.
But everything on the internet is a SHA-256, a SHA-2, a SHA-1. It's a standard hash. It's open source hashing mechanism. It's just it takes a string and randomizes it.
Yeah,
that's all. It's very difficult to crack. It is crackable.
Mm-hmm.
But you can in an immutable blockchain. I know you know this, that each transaction is linked to the one above it and below it. It's a linked list, and if the hash changes on one transaction within the batch, the whole batch is going to be off. It won't link back, and you can't change it. It'll break it.
Yeah. I don't know if I particularly like the idea of all transactions being recorded for all times. You know what I mean? Like it's I that's one of the things I don't like about the idea of a cashless society and things like that, right? Like one of the things we like about cash.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, for sure. Don't we always find a way to do stuff that's not recordable? Don't we always find a way to trade?
We do. You know what I mean?
I mean, I was in the service industry in Chicago in the 90s when they started switching and making you claim your taxes, right? And
claim your tips,
like 5% or 10%, whatever. Claim your tips.
Yeah.
And we all just did like a base, whatever it was. I could be walking away with 400 that night, but I just did the same base every day, always. Right. And with a flipping the bird. Kind of.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking my tips. You're already tipping into, my hourly, which was $2.25 or something. And so in the end, Emily, I'm with you. Actually, I wish we didn't have any kind of oversight at all. But that's where I stand.
I don't, to be quite honest, I don't even want, like, I don't like that they keep records on that, like, I'm, obviously I understand that doctors and things like that have to keep records privately. I don't like the idea that any of these are ever going to be shared with online. I don't like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like that. I
agree. Yeah.
I don't like that they keep information about your car. I just kind of feel like we live in this completely suspicious, tracked kind of thing, and like I just don't like that. Like
they've pushed us to this, right?
Yeah.
They've pushed us to this because in the world, we're in the same generation, you and I. And I remember a time when things weren't like this. And now you see all these generations, they're coming up and this is the world and they're not questioning it.
Yeah, no, they think it's neat. They like the idea that they don't have to keep any paper records of anything because they can just keep everything online.
Right.
I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I don't. They like the idea that everything, that they can control the electronics in their house from their telephone. They don't think about the fact, well, if you can, someone else can too. You know what I mean?
Privacy means nothing now. It literally means nothing. What is it? It's a theory.
Yeah, there is no privacy. Yeah.
There's no real sense of it. And for people that actually are claiming that now that don't have, at least weren't like Gen Xers, like in our generation at 40, it's you don't understand what it's like to actually have privacy.
Yeah.
There's an idea of it. You think you do if you don't have your computer on or you don't have this on. And especially when 5G comes on, when all these computers in your house, your light bulbs are talking to your VCR or whatever, TiVo, whatever the fuck you have, your computers in your refrigerator and in your car, and it's jumping around. And you think because you have your computer off and your phone off, you still have a sense of privacy. Well, you don't.
Yeah, no, I mean, when last year I went to on a trip around the Southwest, and I went to Moab, Utah, and I was in Arches National Park, and like I climbed this rock, and there's no cell phone reception service in that whole park, pretty much. And I climbed this rock, and there was like a little crevice, and I crawled in the crevice, and I laid there for like an hour because there was quiet. I didn't hear any of like the
beautiful
buzzing. Nobody could see. Nobody
the buzzing.
And when you're in rock, like the granite sort of acts as a shield for all the frequencies. And I just laid there with quiet and with my own self and my own thoughts for like half an hour or 45 minutes. And I'm sure like people as they were walking by were like, what is she doing? You know, I didn't care. Like, it was just incredible to be not like that. I think that was like the first time in a long time that I didn't have any like soup around me.
There's this is something I've noticed in my lifetime, and I keep moving away from cities. So I keep pushing further out, and I have lived off grid and off road in New Mexico in the Ortiz Mountains. And I'd like to get back to that sense of quietude, but there's a constant white noise. Every night when I go to bed, I hear it. It's a constant, and I know it's the waves. It's this electronic energy in which we're swimming, right? Yeah. It's only amping up with 5G when everything's actually communicating and the buzz is gonna raise.
Yeah, I mean, like this goes to like a little bit what we were talking about before we started recording, and with this, I'm feeling like what's happening is like the environment is becoming aware. It's coming online.
Yes.
I think that there's always been an element of that, like organically, like if you watch like Avatar or even some like old like Disney movies where like, the trees and like the flowers would move and kind of talk and whatever. Right.
Right.
So there's always been an organic element, but I think one of the things that's happening with all of the combination of the particles that are being sprayed in the sky, but also particles that are being donated by people vaping and things like that, all the other stuff on the ground level.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The frequencies hitting them is that the air is everything. The entire atmosphere is not only a screen. Like there's obviously, we know from, the work of people like Sophia Smallstorm and Alana Freeland and whatever, that they're creating like an ionized sky. And there's just, it's basically like a screen.
It's all transmitters.
Right. But I think it's also all sensors and aware. And I feel like what happens when it's almost like we're going to get to a point where all we have to do is breathe out, and the environment is completely aware of everything going on inside of our body. And when we
right. Your insulin is spiked right now,
Yes, you know, when you breathe in, you're breathing in the, you know, I actually think that like and this goes to maybe my vast conspiratorial mind, but just also my own observations and experiences, is that I think one of the things going on with, obviously, I think with food, like, I don't know if you guys have seen the series I've done on sugar as programmable matter.
Sugar is crazy.
Yeah, I think that sugar is programmable matter. And I've, you know, brought up a lot, you know, while I'm not a scientist or anything like that, I've brought up many points and I've had a lot of interaction with people based on my ideas that, you know, are leading me closer and closer to being able to say that for certain. You know, and I'm actually about to begin, you know, I'm going to holistic nutrition school because I want to figure some of this stuff out. But I think one of the things going on with a lot of this vaping, and even on a certain level, like a lot of this marijuana smoking, legalized marijuana smoking, because I think a lot of people don't understand exactly what they have, is I think that people are, particularly with the vaping, you know, I found this, Quinn, I've said this before, so people who hear this and they've heard me say this before, like, sorry for the repeat, but I found this quote one time, so of Nikola Tesla's from, you know, like the early 1900s, where he said something like, in the future, men will smoke these little machines, they will taste good and they will think they're cool and they will be under mind control. And so I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then I thought about it. I was like, he saw that coming. And then I was like, oh, they plug it into the computer to charge it. And it's a liquid crystalline fluid that is sweet. Okay, I can see how this goes. Like you know, if there's an app running in the background on the computer, like, could this be programming information there? Then people, you know, somehow the crystalline liquid, just like a computer chip, can hold some of that information. People breathe it in. Like, oh, people are like with Facebook, people are participating in their own sort of dossier creation. Are people participating in their own mind control in a really interesting way here? And I did notice very early, I had some friends that were really early adopters of vaping, like long before there was all these stores and trends. And I noticed that there was a change in some of them, and like almost like I wasn't really friends with them anymore. And, you know, it seemed like I don't know, something about them changed. So I had this idea that those were used for mind control. And then this past summer, while I was sort of like in a grief state over my friend and spending a lot of time exercising and alone and whatever, like, it just dawned on me that the same thing could be said about sugar. That sugar is crystalline and cubic and can hold information. And why is it increasingly, particularly over the last, say, the same period of years that technology and Wi-Fi and 5G and radiation and EMF and ELF and all that stuff has increased, there's so much more sugar in all of our food now, including foods that shouldn't even have sugar in them, right?
Yeah, the syrup.
And that is it, you know, why is that, right? But if it's you know, think about it. If it's a programmable substance, and part of what they're using to program it is some of this like 5G and Wi-Fi. I mean, think about how much information is swimming through the air at all times, right? And if it sort of catches onto that. But I think with the vaping, I mean, really think about that. Like, you're breathing that in, and if it has the ability to hold information, then it could be recording things from inside of you. You're blowing them out. It's going everywhere. And this is part of terraforming on the ground level, but also a creation of a hive mind. Right? Like, if, you know, like sometimes I was at a party recently where everybody was doing that. And like, actually, I was trying to enjoy my mushrooms and it was disrupting my consciousness and my trip, because every time I was like about to like go off into my own little space in my own head, I would smell fucking grape Kool-Aid or cherry gummy bears or whatever. Right? And it literally disrupts the consciousness. And I noticed it much more there because I was wanting to have a trip. But how is it affecting? I mean, whenever somebody walks into my restaurant, like big muscular guy comes in and he smells like cotton candy and blueberry pancakes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's something weird about it, right? Also, what is this doing to their bodies? But like, what is this doing to the brain? And they're blowing it everywhere. So like, I'm in this party, it's in an enclosed warehouse. It's like chemtrails inside. And if there are particles in there that are picking up information or storing things and people are blowing them out and I can't help it, I'm breathing them in. Like, how could this be part of creation of a hive mind, but also like syncing people up in a way that they'll think is like a natural spiritual process, but is really like a mechanized controlled thing?
That's very interesting. And I haven't actually given it that much. I've never been a smoker. And so I didn't, and it seems like most of the smokers I know that they've moved from cigarettes really into vaping. And And thankfully, because it's less nasty smelling, at least in my opinion.
I thought that for a while, but after that less experience where I couldn't hide from all those sweet smells, I was like, bring back the cigarettes, dude. Like,
yeah, see, I'm just not around any of it, and because I'm a hermit, I don't encounter people very often, and every 6 weeks when I go grocery shopping, it's the truth, and I'm very grateful. However, wow. I have noticed that I've always noticed that the invasiveness of fog and smoke in a space where it doesn't matter what you're doing, you can't get away from it unless you leave. And so there's also like this, there's a sentience to it. And I don't know, and this is just me kind of, this is me streaming this right now, but there's a sentience to it. And that I noticed when I was young with cigarette, like my mother and my stepfather smoking, or everyone at restaurants, in theaters, on the plane. And
remember that when people used to smoke on the plane? That was
girl, so weird. I will never forget it. It was everywhere.
I've smoked on planes.
And well, Jerry, of course you have. And but you know, the butcher in the grocery store would be smoking while they're cutting on the meat.
Yeah.
My doctor used to smoke in his office. My pediatrician.
Like the dentist and the doctors. Oh my God, it's hilarious. But there's something that is there's something about it, how it takes over the whole space. And it doesn't matter if you're partaking or not, you are partaking.
Yeah. You know, that's interesting what you said about there being ascensions to the smoke. I would agree. Like, have you ever seen sometimes like, I had a friend who like took a picture of like, he was smoking while he was playing records and the smoke made like this shape and it looked like some kind of goddess or something in there. Right.
Yes.
So like you see things like that, but also like, and I've spoken about this before. So sometimes you see this kind of like stuff in the air, like it's a different kind of spraying. It looks like black coal ash, right? Like some of the stuff they spray, it looks like black coal ash. Some people refer to as black particle nanotech.
Yes, yes.
But I've noticed that the way it sort of swarms and also has some kind of sentience, it sort of moves together. And I've like drawn the parallel between that and like something like Etch-a-Sketch or Magnadoodle, right?
Oh wow!
And it creates like a magnetized particle that allows discarnate entities to attach to it. So like it's something for them to like acts like a magnet, like it pulls them to it.
Right, and then you breathe it in.
And then you breathe it in, or it's just there. So like when you're saying it has ascensions, also like when you were little, or it's even happened to me as an adult, though not so much anymore. Have you ever laid there on your bed in the middle of the night, like, or like when you're ready to go to sleep, the lights are kind of off, but you can almost see something that looks sort of like smoke or like particles sort of coming off the wall?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I made that synthesis. Is it in some weird, strange experiences I'd had in my past where the smoke was actually not smoke. It was something else.
Yeah.
In the form of smoke.
Pixels?
Well, possibly. I mean, anything's possible.
It's like some kind of particle nanotech.
Yeah, like totally.
That swarms and clusters and sort of has like one driving sentience or consciousness behind it, but it's, you know, it's very unusual.
What if that's what darkness is?
Well, antimatter, right? Which they're saying is not true anymore.
Dark matter is not real.
Yeah.
None of that.
But see, real. At the same time, like as a person in the world, I've never been, even though I was never a smoker, I was never one of those people that was like literally everyone I knew and all the men I dated, except for a couple, smoked. So I was never one of those, ew, smoky, I'm not having you. I never, right. And then being a bartender for so long. And so I was never one to censor people. I'm still not one like that. Do what you're going to do.
Me too, yeah.
And that includes me. If I'm in a room that's just overwhelming, I'll take my ass out, you know, I'm going to take my damn ass out and not say anything. So I still believe in free will. And in the end, that's always going to be something I believe in. But there is something invasive about transmutation of things. and that ties into 5G now, right? With the waves and all of it.
This is the first. So I used to be a smoker. I was a smoker for 15 years. I quit a long time ago. Like now, I like, to me, it's just like shocks me that people still smoke because I'm just not around it. Every once in a while, someone will come into my restaurant and they'll just smell like an ashtray, and it's almost like
it's terrible. It is a terrible smell. But
like, okay, whatever. I've always been like that. Like,
do what you're gonna do.
But the first this stuff with the vaping, particularly like. This is the first one that's really made me reconsider my stance on that. Like, I actually so I was at this party where this was going on and I couldn't find a corner of the room to escape it, right? And I was just like, it was super loud in there, like really loud techno music, right? And I just mentioned, I like leaned over and mentioned to my friend, I'm like, dude, the fucking vaping shit is bugging the crap out of me, right? Like, I can't, and this girl who was standing probably like 4 or 5 feet in front of us, she heard me through all the loud techno, and I wasn't talking about her. She heard me and she's like, I can hear what you're saying back there. She's like, she got like all SJW on me. Like she was, it was almost like I had said something racial or something about her, right? She kind of cocked her head. And she's like, this is a big place. You can go somewhere else. And I was like, actually, I wasn't talking about you. But no, I can't go anywhere else because everywhere I go, it's there. And people blow these huge streams of smoke. It's not like from a cigarette, a little bit of smoke or whatever.
No, the smoke is different. It's
huge,
yeah.
Right? So this is
Jerry's giving us an example right now.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Demonstration A.
Right? Like I feel like if we had the right kind of lens, we could like look and actually see what's in there and or whatever. But
look, I make my own juice. I know exactly what's in it. It's organic vegetable glycerin, and it's heated up to a point where it becomes a gas.
But why does it smell so sweet that it feels invasive? Maybe yours doesn't. But why does it smell so sweet that it changes, like literally alters my consciousness? I don't, you know what I mean? It's what is that?
Nicotine.
That's nicotine right there.
That's nicotine in your hand?
It is, but no, nicotine is what's doing that to you.
But I don't never from cigarettes.
Not all of it's absorbed, so you're getting super high doses of nicotine.
Yeah, whatever it is, like this has been the first thing where I've had that thought or feeling like I don't want to be around people doing this, and like it feel like, you know what I mean? Like I almost feel like I'm like you. I never want to tell people they can't do it or whatever.
Right.
But like that experience was so unpleasant for me. And like it was that I was like, wow, this is kind of like literally 80% of the people in there were doing it. Like,
it's extremely.
If you
people that weren't smoking cigarettes are vaping.
Right.
So it's like there's more of that experience now.
And also a lot of people who never smoked cigarettes are doing it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
You can vape weed. You can get THC in your juice too, or CBD.
Right.
The thing I was going to say, if people can't smoke in the venue, cigarettes, then they shouldn't be able to vape.
Well, people were smoking cigarettes in the venue too, but the cigarettes.
But you were at a party though, right, Emily?
Yeah.
But
I'll be like at a but I've started to notice this like almost everywhere. Sometimes I'll be someplace where I don't see any people and I still smell that. Like when I'm on my run, I'll be on like a trail in nature and I smell that, and there's nobody around for hundreds of yards. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's
vegetable glycerin, when it's vaped at certain temperatures, it lingers for a while.
It lingers, yeah, for sure.
So, and this is a weird thing, and maybe this goes to dreams. You might find this interesting. Like I had this weird experience happen to me last week where maybe a few weeks ago, I had the terrible plague that everybody's had. And I was
so far, thank you.
Lucky you. Well, it's because you live away from everybody.
I am a hermit. Yeah,
I've heard a conspiracy theory that it was released when that alleged SpaceX rocket blew up or whatever happened.
Well, a lot of people have had it, and now that one dude just died, like yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So this was pretty. I don't usually ever get sick. I'm pretty healthy, and I eat a very clean diet, whatever. This was pretty intense, and I had to work through it. Like I had to go to work and stuff. But basically, one of the nights. So I stayed home on the weekend. I just didn't do anything like the New Year's Eve weekend. But like one of the nights I was like not sleeping well because I kept waking up every like hour because of my congestion and whatever. But at one point I woke up and my pillow smelled like that. It smelled like it was doused in that. And I was like,
terrible.
What? And you know, when you're congested, you can't smell anything. But it was literally like someone had dipped my pillow in that stuff. And then like fell back asleep, and in the morning it didn't smell like that. You know what I mean? So it was just like, so, yeah, but I mean, it makes me wonder, is like our body able to record that and then reproduce it? Right? Like,
that's a good
question. Yeah, it can. You know it can.
Yeah. But it's, you know, it's crazy. Yeah. I mean,
it's crazy.
But so when you were making that stuff, is there any sugar in it?
No.
I mean, you know what it also reminds me of? It reminds me of scratch and sniff stickers when we were little.
Oh yeah, I love those actually, right? For a minute.
But it almost makes me wonder, what was the purpose of those? Right? Like
Emily, yes, I've wondered that too.
Because so there's a kid at my work who smokes that stuff, and like when I was asking him about, like, I opened his little bottle of it and just took one little whiff, and it was like it like almost wiped my mind of whatever I had been thinking about before.
Right.
The one he had was like lemon pie, and it reminded me of the strawberry shortcake scratch and sniff stickers. Remember, her friend was lemon meringue.
You were just taking the words out of my mouth. Yes, yeah. Totally. And strawberry shortcake.
Okay, so the strawberry shortcake was like a huge fad, like for a while, and then just totally gone. But,
right.
Like, remember the dolls smelled like
it?
Yes. The stickers smelled like
their hair. Yeah.
What was the real purpose of that? Like, you know what I mean?
I doubt
the
people who made that juice though know that.
But if there is such a similarity, and it's so weird that Emily was just mentioning that, because that's all I was seeing was strawberry shortcake from my youth, and her friends, all of them, and the hair, and in my adult lifetime, in later years, I have wondered what all that whole scratch and sniff phase was about. Imagine the power if you wanted to utilize that.
Well, one of the things I've talked to a lot of other people who've had some of the similar experiences as me about is the different kinds of things. And we all agree that there's like an olfactory element to it. Like, I'll be somewhere like in my house, right? And just all of a sudden I'll smell gas. Or for me, often it's jasmine flowers, even though there's like no jasmine flowers anywhere around. And it'll just like be a really strong smell for a second. And it'll like make a memory or make me like completely change my state of consciousness, and then it's gone. And so like, what is that? And you know what I mean? And the way smell is attached so closely to memory, and I wonder if smells can be used just like it makes us remember things. Can it also be used to erase memory, to wipe? Because when I sniffed that kid's lemon pie thing, like whatever I had been thinking about 1 minute before that, it was totally gone.
Yeah, you were like Miss Lemon.
But that's not the only time that happens. It happens all the time to me.
Yeah,
right. Well, memory and scent, they're tied together.
Yeah. I just want to throw one more thing in here, and I'm not defending anything. I'm just playing devil's advocate. The other ingredients in these juices are mainly flavoring concentrates sold by 3 or 4 companies that have been around for decades. It's very possible. Pardon?
Yeah. What companies are these?
Liquid, like the Flavor Arts, TFA. There's a bunch. Marianne's flavors. They're used for like when you make candy. These are flavorings going to candies. Flavorings that go.
Sure, I recognize the smell of one guy I know who smokes it. It smells exactly like the gummy cherries I used to eat. Exactly like it. So it's probably the exact same. Yeah.
It probably is. So, and it's very possible that these were used in the scratch and sniff. That could be the similarity. So that was just that. The other thing was that there's one specific brand of Suave or some cheap ass shampoo like Suave that reminds me of something very specific from when I was like 12.
Yeah.
Like if I smell that, I'm right back at that moment.
Like herbal essence, yeah.
It is an herbal essence. It's like a jasmine cherry or jasmine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is weird. So like, we were talking earlier about like what is when you guys what is dreams like? Or what are dreams like? I always wonder sometimes, like, is this was this something that was baked into, like, no other species sleep the way we do, right? Like my cat, when she sleeps with one eye open. She's never fully asleep. If she does want to knock out, she goes and hides at the very back of the closet. Bears bury themselves into the side of the mountain before they go to sleep.
But cats dream. They do dream.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think that everything dreams, actually.
Right. But we're the only ones that like go to sleep at the same time every night in the exact same space, You know what I mean?
And we're
Has it always been, was it something where we created with this need to sleep 6 to 8 hours every night as a way to like reprogram, reset, do, you know what I mean? Whatever, whether it's, I'm not even necessarily saying it was nefarious, but like, what would happen if we didn't do that? Like, how different would things be?
So I have something to say about this. And I've noticed that I have talked to other people about this. So my whole life, I've never been comfortable, and this could be some early childhood craziness that I went through. But I personally sleep well in very small, confined cave-like spaces that are hard to get to. And I've always done this. So like in my apartments in Chicago, I've always made my bedroom in a closet. And then I had this wonderful Queen Anne house where there was a secret room behind the bedroom, in the closet through it. And I had my bedroom set up and I actually slept in that secret space. And I like very, cat-like spaces, I suppose, that are secluded off. Otherwise, I don't sleep well. So I don't sleep well in spaces where there's a bed in a room and you can walk around the bed. I will never sleep well. And I kind of have that set up right now, and it's not great. I tend to find myself more in the corner of a couch or in between cushions, and but I've talked to a lot of other people, and what's come to light in the last couple years is I'm a universal donor. So I'm Rh negative, but I didn't know anything about that until recently. And I only knew that because I'm a universal donor, right? Yeah. And so everyone can have my blood, but I can only... Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but I just knew that was, my mom always said, remember to just say you're a universal donor. So they know that you can only have this blood, and, but anyone can have yours. I found that a lot of people with this blood type have that same thing. And I'm wondering, is it a wild instinct?
Interesting. Yeah.
What is that?
So for me, now that you mention it, I like those kinds of, I've always liked that, like finding little nooks to sleep in and things like that. Mm-hmm. I sleep the best when I am in a hotel, which is it will be not the place that I usually sleep. Right. And if I stay in a hotel for a week, by the end, I'm not sleeping well there either. So like the first or second night I sleep somewhere, generally I sleep best. And then I have the same problems that I have in other places. So I wonder, one of the things about being in the wild is you can't just keep sleeping in the same place. Otherwise,
no, you're nomadic.
You get sniffed out, right? Yeah. And also you're traveling. So, and I'm a nomadic person in a lot of ways. So am I. I've lived in many different cities, and a lot of times I don't like to stay. I mean, it's different when I'm back here in Los Angeles, but most places I go, I tend to stay for about a year, and then I kind of move on.
6 months sometimes.
I always said I do with cities what most people do with relationships, right? Like a year, move on.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, me too, for real.
But I also, for me, I like the idea of having a job where I could travel around a lot and all that kind. I don't necessarily, I've never been good at making a home for myself. I've always done this sort of makeshift camping kind of thing.
Yeah, but that is a home. You're always got that. For me, definitely as a nomad with an estate. I feel like everywhere I've lived, I've always brought that sense of home. So it's always homey spaces. Yeah. People come into them and they're always at home in my spaces because they're comfortable. So it's not stark or anything. There's I like to blend in and not be sticking out like I do everywhere in the world.
Interesting. Yeah. But when we
You're blowing my whole Morticia Adams view of you,
How is that? Because I'm completely that.
But we got into this, we're talking about smells, and I also wonder, is something about the olfactory system? We use our nose in a lot different way than animals do. Animals use theirs to hunt, right, or to find food and things like that. We don't really do that, and maybe we were intended to do that, but since we're not using it for that, it's able to be used for all of these other things.
We don't do it anymore.
Right. Right, but I'm sure I'm sure when it was more of a hunter-gatherer kind of society, that was like part of it. One of the things Niche, do you have a really strong sense of smell? I have a really incredibly strong.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can tell the different smells of all my animals' poo. I have like a little farm here, and everyone's poo, I know the difference.
Yeah, my cat's poo smells like coffee. My cat's poo smells like coffee grounds, and I've never been able to quite understand that.
But that's a good smell.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only that; it smells like poop too. But there's like a bit of coffee ground smell in there.
Ooh, girl, it's like we're talking about wine.
Bizarro version of civet.
Yes, civets. Coffee. Yeah, civets in perfume. It's a base note.
That's interesting. So yeah, I also people always told me I should be the person that does perfumes because I can pick out all the smells of different things, and people I can smell shit weeks before other people can. I work in a restaurant, and sometimes I'll walk by something, I'm like, something smells funny. There's something rotten somewhere, and everyone's like, you're crazy. They'll look for everything, they can't find it. They're like, you're crazy, Emily. 3 weeks later, they'll find a rotten piece of meat there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I was smelling it all the way back then. I also have some level of precognitive smell.
Yes.
Almost I can smell something on someone's breath before they've eaten it, but they're about to eat it, kind of thing. I also, one time I was driving up to a friend's house, and it was the first time I was going to their house. So when I got close to their neighborhood, I knew I was close, but I wasn't sure exactly where they were. So I called, and as soon as they got on the phone, I could smell dryer sheets. And I was like, are you doing laundry? They're like, what the fuck are you doing?
That's excellent.
I was still several blocks away. You know what I mean? So I have some weird kind of thing with the smell. But yeah, that is interesting though about what you were saying with the RH negative and the.
Really.
Sorry.
No, carry on, Jerry.
I was going to say, I look at that as more of. I would suggest to you that your psychicness is getting your attention with smell.
Yeah, no, I think
I think it's tied in for sure.
Yeah. And one last thing I wanted to add before I forget. When you were talking about smell bringing up memories and things like that, and as far as programming goes, my first thought on all that was, wow, how could we incorporate that into sigils and magic? Which is probably the opposite of what you thought.
But I think they do that.
I know.
You know what? And I when we were talking about something during the main show about dreams, I thought I should share this story with you guys. And because you just brought up sigils and programming and stuff like this, maybe this is a good time. I had this weird thing happen. It was maybe back in the spring. And this was sort of how I figured out how they do some of this, whatever their kind of programming they might do while you're sleeping, or some of this driving your consciousness out of your body for, whatever different kinds of things. I was just falling asleep. I was, just in that phase where I'm falling asleep, and whatever I was looking at, in the dream or whatever I was sort of seeing, it looked like the Facebook screen, right? But the only difference was instead of it being a white background, it was a black background. And you know how on the Facebook screen, over on the right, you can see actually they've changed it in the way they've updated it. But for a while, at least back in the spring, you could see on the right-hand side, it would say, Jerry Ablin just commented on so-and-so's post, blah, 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 right? Not your notifications, but the thing, there was a thing on the right side that would sort of tell you what other people were doing. And
I never saw that, but yeah.
Okay, it was it was for a while on the one that was on Safari. It seems to be different on.
It was that way when I was still on Facebook. I totally know what you're talking about.
Okay. So I was looking over there, and what was basically happening is and when it was over there, the person's symbol, you could see their little picture, their little avatar, right?
Right.
So I was looking in the dream, or it was one of those kinds of dreams you have when you're just drifting off to sleep, right? So I was looking straight on the computer, and in that thing over on the side, there was something trying to get my attention, and it was in the little avatar thing. There was a rabbit, right? Like a white rabbit kind of character, or the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. It almost looked like that, right? And so everything kept telling me not to look at the rabbit straight on, but I couldn't help it. It was drawing me there, right? And as soon as this is what happened, as soon as I locked eyes on the rabbit, I started feeling myself move, travel forward and the rabbit pulled back and turned into the symbol of the flower of life, right? And started spinning. And as it was spinning, I could feel myself coming out of my body. And I realized what was happening. And I was like, no, I don't want to go. And all of a sudden I was back in my body and awake. So
holy shit, Emily.
How many times has that happened to me in my sleep without me being aware of it?
And that is incredible.
Yeah. So it was basically like, so at first I was just thinking about the rabbit and it's the sacred geometry symbol. And I was talking about it with another friend. They're like, no, wait a second. Look at how many things you had to go through. You were looking at Facebook. There was the thing over on the right. It was trying to get your attention. You were resisting it. It got your attention. You looked. There was the locking of the eyes. The rabbit moved back. After the rabbit moved back, the avatar turned to the flower of life. Flower of life started spinning, and then you started going. Like, it was a whole series of things. Like, you know, when they talk about how they used to like trigger the assassins, they would like call them, and there'd be a series of words and the color blue and this and that. So there was all of these different things, and somehow I caught it, and it was like, wow, that was like a huge. Like a kind of a huge breakthrough for me. And it was funny because it came a day after I'd had like another sort of vision memory kind of thing. And sometimes they come like in clusters like that. But that was one of the most interesting revelations I've had during this whole like journey through finding this, was that they, you know, and I've always been very interested in geometry, particularly because of the experiences I had in the psychedelic state with the different geometric landscapes and the sacred geometry and all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things I've learned is that how they lay down a lot of the programming is they lay it down in the chakra points using sacred geometry.
Yes.
And literally the programming isn't not all of the programs are stored in your mind. Some of them are stored in the chakra points. They're like other hard drives.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is incredible. That was perfect for Nox Mente. I mean, it's great that it's in this show, but that is unbelievable.
Yeah. And so
really, I mean, it's just like, it's completely a programming experience, and that your friend was able to break that down too.
Yeah. And how many people use Facebook and aren't aware that mind control programming exists? And literally Facebook in reality can just be a portal for what it's being used for in the night space.
Right. Oh yeah, totally. This is why I'm not on it anymore. I'm actually leery. You know, it's my rebel gene, and that ties into how I like to sleep too, is I'm super cautious. I'm shy I'm not shy, like emotionally. I'm not shy. You can tell I'm not shy in the common syntax, but I'm shy of stuff that seems, you know, I should be leery of, really, from a gut instinct, from an instinctual level. And all of this is making me more shy. The social media, the name social media alone gives me like the ajita in my gut, you know?
Yeah. Well, I also I had another weird thing happen with Facebook, like in a dream. And this was like what seemed more like a normal dream at the time, but then after I had this other one, it made me wonder. Like, I had a dream that so I had a dream that I was like in this like big mall, like in Texas. It was like in Austin, but not a mall I remember from Austin. And I was like I was trying to meet up with my friend, this girl Leslie that I used to be friends with in Austin, right? Like trying to meet up with her and looking for her and whatever. And I finally found her in this store that like looked like Sephora, but it wasn't makeup. It was like jewelry. And she was missing a tooth. She was missing a tooth. It was like really weird, right? And then the next day I was on Facebook, and when I first scrolled, what came up in the feed was that there was a post from her. It said, "Thank God I finally got my tooth fixed." And on the right side where the ads are, there was an ad for this store called Pandora, which is like a jewelry store that is owned by the same people as Sephora.
Oh my God.
Right? Wow. So like, it was so weird. I was like, that's, you know what I mean? That's super, super duper weird. But that was like maybe like a year and a half before I had that other one. And at the time I just thought that was weird, but it makes me wonder like how hooked into Facebook are we really? Is Facebook like, is it actually already completely invaded our conscious? I think the whole point is eventually we're not going to have to look at our computer to be on Facebook. And I was experiencing a little bit of that.
Well, this is something I'm deeply interested in, and in a way, part of how Nox Mente started. whereas I'm not on Facebook, but I am obviously online. And I think this all ties into the coming, and I don't care what anyone says. I think 5G has been getting rolled out for a minute at least. Yes. And they're telling us now, they're letting us know.
Yep.
And so those kinds of experiences I was having a while back. And yes, to your question, to your like rhetorical question, really, I think it's all tied in, and that's the kind of stuff I'm looking for. You're having a dream, and then this shit pops up in what's considered reality through the internet, through veins of the internet, like Facebook and social media. That's significant.
Also, don't you think it's weird that the symbol for Twitter is a bluebird? And
yes.
Real mind control with Project Bluebird. Yes. All of the social media stuff, they all have this Facebook and Twitter and stuff. They all have this blue color.
Mm-hmm.
The blue that's on Twitter is the closest one to what I would say. Like it's like the same blue as like the Bluetooth light, and like what I like blue laser light, like what I imagine like the Project Bluebeam is sort of really all about, and whatever. But why do we have a bluebird on Twitter? And I think it's so interesting how like with Twitter, you're limited to a certain number of characters.
Right.
And like, I wonder, like, if you look into the description of what Project Bluebird is, and I'm not going to be able to exactly quote it, but like, or maybe I'll just like briefly pull it up, but it's basically about,
Jerry's on it. I can tell.
Right. It's basically about, creating amnesia. Right. And so look at the way people like function on Twitter, right? Like the way it is, and it almost like Twitter creates a reality that makes you actually forget what's really going on, right? Look at the way the president uses Twitter to communicate. Look at the way, some people just like Twitter's a whole other like existence. It's like different than Facebook, but like, you know what I mean? Like it actually creates memes in a faster way than Facebook does.
Oh yeah. It's more direct for sure.
Yeah. So like
Bluebird's more like, well, from what I recall, Bluebird is more like what went on allegedly at Montauk.
No, Bluebird,
they give you the
Colin
DID.
Ross. Hold on a second.
They implant new identities. Amnesia barriers are created. Yeah, well, that's what.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly the definition, right? So think about that. Think about that in relation to Twitter, right? Plant new identities, right? Think about how many fake accounts there are there, or how people act in a different way on Twitter than they act in real life.
So
right?
Just in social media in general,
right?
Not just Twitter.
Right. And then like with Twitter, like it's whatever the hot trending thing is that day or that week. And then people basically like forget about what happened the week before, the month before, even if it was a huge thing. Like look at how big of a deal Pizzagate was, and like how sort of it's not talked about now, right? Whatever.
Right.
Pushing aside whatever you think about it or whatever, right? Think about like all of the different dramas and things like that have been created on Twitter, and it's a big deal for like a week and then it's gone. Is this an experiment in seeing how quickly they can get people to forget about things that are important, or how they can get people to, think that like the person that they're seeing online is the real person? When it's really like a created identity. Like this could be a massive application of Bluebird.
Or it's a giant publicity generation machine.
Well, that too. I mean, like that.
But what's the difference, though, with that? So when we talk about publicity, what are we talking about?
Well, I think that's how a lot of this shit is going to be. Like, people are willing to say, "Oh, well, that's just part of advertising or marketing." And when you talk to like a general person, a normal person who isn't aware of all the things we're aware of, when you mention mind control, they think, "Oh, yeah, like they do that in advertising." That's kind of like the way it's like sanitized or explained away. And same with what you're saying about publicity. But I really think that like
I was just offering an alternative. I don't have it. I agree. Yeah. I think there's something even more nefarious and deeper than that going on. And
all right, let's hear it.
I don't know what it is, but it happened. It happened because of this election, and it happened to my father. That's how I know. My dad is a quiet dude. He never yells or raises his voice. He won't even. Well, now he says fuck, but he would never say fuck out loud, right? And now every day he's screaming uppercase at Trump and about Trump and anti-Trump shit on Facebook daily, which he never used to post anything about nothing.
Right.
But he's gotten rabid over this.
Yeah.
And if you even bring it up, you can see his blood pressure go up and he gets all He changes when you incite that thought in his head.
So it created a new version of your father.
No, it programmed him somehow.
Right.
And not just him,
Yeah.
all these other people who get triggered.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. It's from CNN or MSNBC. It's one of those two who did it.
Yeah.
Or the Times or the Washington Post, or all four, because
right.
Those are the media centers my parents, go to for news. So something in those stories, whatever, and I'm not saying these people are complicit. I'm just saying whatever that combination of information that he intook and other people, or ingested rather,
turned them into, like, it's Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. They believe that there's Russian collusion,
It's so, right. Isn't it funny how how much people who, like, in all other aspects of their life are completely intelligent and have good common sense, they're sitting here buying something that there has been zero proof offered for, zero evidence, zero proof. You know what I mean? Like, when these same people, like, you can go to them and they think you're crazy for some of these conspiracy things, but you could actually offer them volumes and volumes and volumes of evidence, and they're not interested. But they'll buy this story that has no proof at all. Yeah.
Right.
Just look at the Christians.
Right.
Right. Religion and politics, they kind of are, they're lovers.
Well, politics is a religion. I think government is the most dangerous religion out there.
Absolutely. It's a cult for sure.
It's a cult.
Sorry.
Yeah. Do you guys know who Larkin Rose is?
Yeah.
And he wrote that book, The Most Dangerous Superstition, about government, basically. And it's the whole, so obviously we know about how, if you break down the word government with its Latin roots, it means to steer the mind, right? Guberno is to steer, mentis is the mind, to steer the mind. But that aside, some people will say, oh, but that's not what the Greek word means, and whatever. But so, but
more distraction.
There's no doubt that government seeks to control the minds of those who believe in its authority, right? Which is the exact same thing that the church does. It's no different. And I guarantee you that religion and government were brought to us by the same people. You know what I mean? And I think
religion was a form of government.
Yeah. Oh, definitely for a long time.
Yeah. And, and there's people out there who and I like that Larkin Rose says this. He says that you can be an anarchist without being an atheist, but you can't be an atheist unless you're an anarchist. Right. And think about how many people there are who say they're atheists, but they are completely believe in the authority of government. Right?
Yes. Oh my God. I'm so confused by all that.
Yeah. So it's very, they don't believe in God, but they believe in this imaginary God called government, where they just write things on paper and that makes it so.
Right.
Right.
Right. It's the holy. It's the law.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable to me that there's a separation in some souls that feel that way. It actually makes me almost short circuit trying to comprehend it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That Clive and Bundy guy got released from jail yesterday.
Yeah.
And he made a small speech or talk, whatever you want to call it, I don't know where they were, in a small room with very few reporters. I think it was at the prison. Anyway, it's really interesting. You should listen to it. It's very passionate, very heartfelt, and very true.
Yeah.
And he's right in a lot of ways. And you hear this guy talking, all you can think of is like, God, we've lost the government. We've got to take it back.
Yeah, and at this point, I just think we need to walk away from it. I don't think it's a question of taking it back. I'm not interested. I'm more anarchist than that. Yeah. I think the right thing for us to do is just turn around, shun it, turn around, walk away, laugh at it, kind of thing. But no, I think actually a small amount of righting wrongs was done with the release of the family and the dropping of the charges. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with all of the methods they chose to fight their battle, because I think they actually brought a lot more problems on them, especially the way they carried out the thing in Oregon.
I didn't follow it. I have no idea what happened. I
did, because I'm up here. It was local news up here. Yeah, but
so
I know the basics. I just weren't talking.
I mean, I'm kind of not into the whole patriot thing and all of that kind of stuff, but the point the man has, the point that Clive and Bundy and his family has, I agree with, and I actually think that it's quite incredible the way that they stood up and they weren't willing to take any deals or whatever, and in the end the right thing happened. So there was a pretty good big wrong righted through this, and I think it's very interesting with how much negative attention was given to them by the media. None of the media is reporting on this. It's like on the very back page of the New York Times. It's gotten little tiny clips and whatever. Like this is actually like a huge. I mean, if these people had the balls to stand up, and I totally respect that. And if more people had those kinds of balls, then we'd be in a different kind of situation.
Exactly.
But that man's got some huge cojones, and I have respect for him.
And stepping back, I can see that the Oprah shit came out to distract from that and whatever else was going on yesterday. The whole Israel bombing Syria thing that got brushed under the rug yesterday. The Russia fighting off drone armies in Tartarus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, like I want to say it was.
Well, there's always so if you the same person who told you about with that dream video, Melissa Melton, the Truth Stream Media people, like a couple of years ago, she had this great video where she had done all this correlation to show that basically every time there was one of these like mass shootings or false flag kind of events, there was also a war crime being committed that same day somewhere else in the world that was not getting any coverage because of that.
Right. And
you know what I mean?
Yesterday and today they were voting on and they were debating and voting on that like Section 702 thing from the FISA bill.
Mm-hmm.
The whole spying, the spying on people is being continued. Basically, the whole NSA, Edward Snowden. Yeah, they're not going to stop it, and they're expanding it. And that got voted on today. Well, these things that come out, I think, are distraction from that. Like the Oprah thing. Everyone on Twitter's bitching about Oprah, but nobody's bitching about the day of
the Boston bombing.
Yeah.
The day of the Boston bombing.
Boston smoke bomb.
The Boston smoke bomb, right? The firecracker incident. I like that, but that one's my favorite. The Boston firecracker incident.
It was a DHS or DEA drill, right?
It was there was a bunch of stuff going on there, but mostly just but nothing what they say, right?
Right.
But that same day, so the part of like the Dodd-Franklin thing that had happened after the financial crackdown, where basically it said that the Congress could not do insider trading. It could not do insider tip trading anymore. That was changed the day of the Boston firecracker incident, right? They repealed that or they undid that. They passed something that basically undid that. And so that was what was happening. You know what I mean? So most people aren't even, at this point, still aren't even aware of that. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's always, all of these things are distractions. I actually even think that call me crazy for this one, but I think the whole creation of the Black Lives Matter movement and calling it BLM was happened so that when people searched BLM, they'd find Black Lives Matter and not find out about how the BLM was stealing land from people.
Yeah, exactly. that is so. Yeah. That is bait switch.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
Okay,
because they both started in 2014. The Bundy thing happened in 2014, right. And that's when the Black Lives Matter thing started.
Right, and moreover though, it's Google's algorithms and their ranking code that was going to set where it is. So but
people know that now. People know that, and so if you create another movement with the initials BLM, that you know what I mean, you can disguise something else behind that.
Yeah, but if you just think about it, not conspiracy-wise, I can see how it can happen too, because those are more current. BLM is more current for Black Lives Matter than it is for Bureau of Land Management. Right. So in Google's algorithms, they might. But
people weren't really aware of BLM until the thing happened with the Bundys, and then just a few months later, the Black Lives Matter thing started up. So that doesn't seem that coincidental to me.
But Black Lives Matter was okay. I don't know. Okay, I'm not saying I know. I'm just I'm being devil's advocate here because the hashtag was originally Black Lives Matter, and I see a lot of lazy fucks saying, "Oh, I don't want to type that out. Just do BLM."
It could be that. Yeah,
this is the awesome part about it, though, is that look at the net result of whatever happened. Right? I don't think it was orchestrated. Is what I'm saying.
Right. Well, and then there's another one of these also. So
all
the other
things came together to produce that result of obfuscating the
right. It could just be that. You know what I mean? But it also could be that if we're in some kind of simulation, that's sort of the way it works, right? Like that's the way the system works. Like look how crazy it is that within
the system works.
Like a week or two of each other, we had Hurricane Harvey, the shooting at the Harvest Festival, and the Harvey Weinstein incident.
Really.
How is it that we had Hurricane Sandy immediately followed by Sandy Hook, and the Hurricane Sandy made a hook hook shape?
Yes.
So if the simulation or the whatever we're in is programmed to have some kind of a thing occur around that word, that name, that something, that code, because that's how things are programmed, and like something is riffing or something is not going exactly right, then multiple things will kind of pop up that are like kind of trying to accomplish that same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be that.
What if though? Here, this is the way I kind of think about it. Exactly like that. The system, there's an overall system, right, that runs the container, as you call it, the construct, whatever, that has some form of sentience, like the human collective has some form of sentience, right? And it's running the system, and maybe what if it's trying to tell us things? What if it's becoming precognitive itself?
Sure. Yeah.
And it's expressing it in that manner.
I think that's entirely possible. You know what I mean? I also think that like us becoming aware of it is whatever. So if something is programmed to happen, and then there's these characters that are involved in carrying it out, but we as sentient human beings are becoming aware that some of these things are happening. It's getting harder for them to carry out the task that they're programmed to do. So they're having to attempt it in multiple ways to see which one works, kind of thing. So I think there's some of that going on. Another version of what I was talking about is, and this is also related to the Boston firecracker incident. So it was I can't remember the name of the contractor company that was there. They were there with all the hats and the khaki pants. It was the
G4S.
company. No, not G4S. It's the one that Chris Kyle was like. They wore the destroyer hat. It was Chris Kyle's company. It was called
the DynCorp Black.
No, it's called. If you say it, I'll know it right away. Chris Kyle's military contracting company. If you search that, I can't remember what was it called. It was called. You bringing it up? So they were there, like when the thing happened, there was people immediately who recognized that there was all these people there that were wearing the hat and the uniform of that company. And there was starting to be a lot of attention paid to that. And then all of a sudden came the thing where Chris Kyle put out a book saying he punched Jesse Ventura in a bar. And then all of a sudden they were making a movie.
Yes.
All of a sudden they were making a movie about Chris Kyle being like the biggest sniper in the history of the United States.
Yes.
And I actually think that all those things happened to distract from the fact that his company was involved in this whole thing at the Boston firecracker incident. Because when you go now look up Chris Kyle or his company, instead of seeing things about the Boston firecracker incident, you'd see the thing about there's Jesse Ventura. You'd see about the movie American Sniper.
Oh, man.
Wikipedia has no mention of him starting a company.
Oh, it's like it's out of Texas. That's interesting. It might have even been totally erased. So it was. They have the Punisher on their hat, and it was called. I'll remember it as soon as we're off. Like I can't remember the name of it right now.
I see his hat right here with the Punisher logo.
Yeah,
share screen, Jerry.
I'm doing it. You don't have to say it. All you got to do is think it.
I know. It's totally right.
So okay. So yeah. So what he had? It was like a. I can't. Okay, so like
I'll find
if you went and looked at like Alex Jones's articles from that firecracker incident, like it would have the name in there. Also, if you look at like Dave McGowan, some of the people who did some of the good research on it. What's his name? The guy who did a lot of the videos. I can't remember his name right now. Let's see. Craft International. That's it. Craft International.
Oh yeah, they're gone, aren't they?
Gone, yeah. But it's funny how all this stuff about Chris Kyle popped up after those people that was recognized. The fire. See, that's the pictures from the firecracker incident right there on the ground. There, see, yeah. So
G4S was implicated in Orlando. I mean, G4S is all over Vegas,
over everything. Yeah.
Vegas is fucked beyond belief, and nobody's saying anything about it. But today or yesterday, the police now have announced that they've got no video of Paddock bringing guns to that room.
Oh, of course they do. Right? Of course, there's no video of anything. There's no how is it that on the cop whatever the thing?
I'm sorry, the FBI said that, not the cops.
Right.
The FBI said that.
they also say that there was no shooters anywhere else, even though you could hear on the scanner, police scanners coming in, there's shots at the Bellagio, there's shots at the Aria, there's shots here, there's shots. Everybody's just hallucinating that there's shots all over Las Vegas, even when they don't know yet that there's been a shooting at.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. There were shots elsewhere. It's proven.
I know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a guy, Jake Morphonios. Have you?
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, right. But the police and the FBI are still saying that there was no other shooter beside anywhere in Las Vegas that night besides Stephen Paddock. Right. Like
even though they're on record saying there is. Yeah, I know.
Right. Like it's the whole. I mean, Las Vegas was a mess of monumental proportions.
Yeah, but what happened is it doesn't matter what happened anymore. But I want to know.
Yeah, I want to know. I mean, I want to know too. But look how quickly everybody's moved on from that, though. Right? This was the biggest, messiest, sloppy one yet, and I thought for sure this is going to be the one to wake up some people. And initially, it did. It did wake up some people that don't normally pay attention to this. But then, like through the Twitter universe, they've already created amnesia, and people are on to something else.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah. So
look at my
I don't know.
Here.
The
Jake water dreams. What?
Jake Morphonios is he's great. Like, yeah.
Did you watch Jason Goodman? Crowdsourced the Truth.
Like my stomach turn. He makes my stomach turn. But some of the and while there's lots of problems with Quinn Michaels, I think some of the things he has to say are right on. Both. So Jason Goodman makes my stomach turn. There's something wrong with him. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I know he's done some stuff on Vegas too. It's really struggled for me to watch him, to listen to him.
I like him. I didn't at first. I had that same feeling, but then I started watching more. And
I like him more now than I did at the beginning, but I still can't let it go.
His cheesy jokes, I think that's part of it. Plus he's got this nebbish kid kind of thing going on. Like I was the teenager who got beat up as a kid. I don't know. I see that and it comes out in his work, but my point was I haven't heard him say anything wrong or unfactual. He just interviews people who bring this information forward.
But there's something about him that doesn't. I don't know, man. My intuition, like it was weird how like he just basically showed up out of nowhere, like went on the little adventure with George Webb, and then spun his own thing off of it, and like I don't know, man. Like there's something weird. There's something isn't kosher at the deli over there, but.
Right. Well, there's a whole group of people who say that he's Mossad and George Webb's Mossad and that this is all a LARP and whatever. It's interesting. I don't care. It's like the QAnon stuff.
I agree. It's interesting. We have to pay attention to these things because there's pieces. We all have a piece. So we all have a piece of the puzzle. You know what I mean? And even some of the people.
We are the blockchain.
Well, totally. And also one of the things that one of the most valuable lessons I've learned through my whole journey through trying to look for truth and stuff like that is that it actually doesn't matter where information comes from if it's good information. And sometimes I've had to accept information from people who I actually can't stand because they're giving at that moment better information than people I'd prefer to hear it from. And so good information will stand on its own. And sometimes the messenger is not going to be your favorite one. So I pay attention to people I like, people I dislike, people I agree with, people I disagree with. And sometimes the most important data nuggets come from sources that I would have wished, different sources than I would have wished they come from, but I can't deny that they come from them. So, yeah.
Well, what I found is that when I'm in data collection mode, like you're describing, right? You get to a point where you're full and you stop and you just take a few days off, right? In that time, something happens. All that shit is sorted out, and when you need to come up with an explanation for something, boom, you can pull all the relevant pieces out of all that database.
You have a file, a cross file, where your files are basically cross-referencing each other and pulling together seemingly disparate data points, but making a connection. And that's that's actually what I do. I have a very good memory, so I have a lot of things stored up here, and I've taken in probably more information than any single person should. But my brain is constantly doing that.
Jerry is totally that way.
Sometimes I put together things that seemingly have no rational relevance at all to each other, but it's the little piece you need to make the other piece make sense. And we have to be very each person who's involved in trying to understand this reality has to develop their own filter, their own discernment system. And it doesn't mean you're right all the time or anything like that. But if you hone it in the right way, you'll get to this spot where you'll find the kind of the answer that's right for you and the amount of stuff that you need to know. And and whatever, and you can refine it to the point where you don't even have to take in as much information anymore. And as soon as you see certain kinds of information, you know what to do.
Turn it off right away or store it. Yeah, totally. No, it's interesting. It's I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, it was that whole, I don't want to say Socratic method, but that whole critical thinking path that led me into looking at space more closely. And also when Crow found the lunar wave, I found that fascinating because that kind of jived with my whole virtual reality sky 4D immersive hologram thing.
Yeah.
And I found a pattern to it, by the way.
All right, let's hear it.
It's when the moon ascension angle changes. It kind of goes in a wobble, right, in a sine wave. And at some point, when it goes between waxing and waning, and some points in between, like at the full moon, the angle of ascension and declination change by a smaller fraction, a smaller increment than they do when it's in its normal phase. So it goes into this phase where it's moving 5 to 6 degrees, this angle, 5 to 6 degrees a day, and then it slows down. Where it and it slows down and speeds back up. So it's during that 3-day period is when the lunar waves happen.
Well, there's also, and I can't remember whose information this is from, but I think maybe even Crow talked about it at some point, or someone, or maybe James Alfred, who did a lot of the deconstruction of Hattie Bub material. They were talking about how, like, part of the purpose of the lunar cycle was that there's a 3-day period in each cycle where basically people's minds are wiped, people's memories are wiped, or people's mind gets reset. So I wonder if that little space you're talking about is the same as that.
That's when the lunar waves have been observed, and I have not gone back to check all of them because nobody has documented time and date and everything.
Then also look at like, go ahead. Yeah.
I found one more thing too that correlates with all this. Not everybody sees the wave at the same time. If it doesn't happen, like in time zones, like the last one was caught in Pacific time at 10:30, right? I was filming at 10:30 Eastern, and I didn't see it. But 3 hours later, it happened over California.
Huh. And so you wouldn't be able to see it at 1:30 in the morning your time because that's the same as 10:30 Pacific time? Correct,
because the moon had already set.
Okay, so that's interesting. So also, if you go and look into some of the information, I think it's in some of Fritz Springmeier's books, and he's talking about the whole thing with Aleister Crowley and the creation of a moon child, which is what a lot of like the mind control program is based on. Like, and I like my both my astrological markers and just other things about my life fit that like almost exactly.
You're the moon child, or you're Crowley?
Like that. You got it. So, but they were trying to, I often wonder if they were intentionally trying to create these kinds of children to use or whatever that would have this, that would be easy to reset their mind or mind wipe certain things at a certain point of every month, right? Like, if the moon is part of that, part of that.
That seems like a real pain in the ass, to be honest.
Everything's a real pain in the ass, but if you know that a certain kind of like energy is coming in because of something, right? Because like, if that wave creates a certain kind of energy that makes that period of time you able to use somebody for something and then they won't remember it, or you be able to do something. There's stranger.
It's like a servitor,
That's really wild. Yeah, that's totally.
Yeah.
So it could be a lot of things too. It could be all these things. It could be. My initial thought was that it's course correction, that it's the orbit, obviously the moon doesn't belong where it is, or, it's fucked up. It's not right? We know the moon's not right. So in order to keep the appearance of being right, it does that lunar wave every cycle.
Have you ever had, like, sometimes I talk to my friend Mio when I'm driving home from work, sometimes we'll like watch the moon and talk about it. And like sometimes it literally looks like the moon is falling out of the sky, or you'll get these times where like the moon is full, but then all of a sudden it looks like a lemon shape or something like that. Like the moon does some weird stuff if you really watch it. One night, like I watched the moon like literally drop back below the tree level. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's weird. Like it's falling out of the sky. Like what is going on?
It's like it's being thrown over the plane.
Yeah.
I've seen it. It looks.
Have you ever looked at it?
Wobbly. No, I see it looking wobbly, like a jelly ball kind of thing.
Yeah. And have you ever looked at it where like sometimes there's like a lot of like mist or clouds or different things around it, and if you look at it out of the corner of the eye, it almost looks for a second like it could have rings. Like it almost looks like Jupiter or Saturn or something. Just like I remember I had one night where, because sometimes when you're driving on a freeway that's like when it's right in front of you, you can get like a really good look at it for a long time. And like literally I was driving and looking at the moon, and like for a second I kept looking at it. I kept thinking for a second it looked like it had rings, and I'd look back and it didn't. And I remember that night I went to a party, like an underground party, and it was like the weirdest night ever. It was like I was in some sort of like interdimensional zoo or something like that. And I almost felt like the tone for that was set from what I noticed with the moon. Like it was really weird. Like it was like bizarre. It was like I felt like I was at the zoo, and it was weird. It was a party. It was a recurring party that I go to all the time, but I didn't see anybody there that I knew that night except for one guy. And the one guy that I saw, he used to throw a party called Animal Club, right? So I was like, that's the only person I saw I knew was a guy who threw a party called Animal Club. But the weirdest thing that was happening at this party was, there's two things. It was in an industrial building that was right across the street from a residential neighborhood. So when I parked, I was like parked in front of a house, and like the parties across the street. And I was like, how is this working? Because part of the deal with having parties is you want to have them in places where like there's not going to be noise complaints. It was so loud in the party, and houses and people sleeping right across the street, and there was no problem. Like nobody called the police or anything like that. And the other thing that was weird is I like came outside during the night to get some fresh air, and it was like raining a little bit. But I was noticing, like I was standing outside, it seemed to only be raining on me. Like I was looking at other people, you know, like in the cartoons when it would just be like raining on one person. So like these are the weird experiences I was having at night. It was so, but it, like I don't know, there was something I felt like I had like slipped into a crack in something. You know what I mean? And I was like in some sort of like strange space where like there is no, like on one side of the street was like one reality and the other side of the street was another reality. It was very bizarre. And I felt like it all started with that thing with the moon. Yeah.
It probably was the eclipse.
So. It probably was. There is before and after.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm getting sleepy. Yeah.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
A question, just last ending thing. Predictions. What do you think is going to happen? Is anything going to happen this year?
Oh, yes.
Like I've gotten to the point where like we've been waiting for so many things to happen for so long that like, yeah.
I know predictions become kind of ridiculous.
Right.
However.
I
don't mean like, you know, psychic prediction. I'm saying, what do you think is going to? You think it's going to be another year of nothing burgers?
Yeah. I think it. And so I think like, yeah, like on a certain, I think it's going to be. I think publicly and on a massive scale, like we're going to see a lot of nothing burgers. But I think like there's a potential for individuals to make great changes in their self and their trajectory and their own sort of individual realities. I think if people are like. And this is one of the things that concerns me with a lot of things like in the truth movement, especially with like all this QAnon stuff going on and whatever, that people get so worried about that they like need for there to be this like massive public change before they are going to like feel like their life is any better or they can make changes in their life. I think it's a huge distraction and a huge waste of time. And I feel like people put the same amount of energy into like changing themselves and bringing themselves their walk in line with their talk and bringing them their self here into alignment with their highest self. If the same amount of energy was put on that, then we wouldn't have some of these problems that require massive kind of whatever, right? So I think that like this whole thing, I mean, we've seen this before with like lots of distractions and all of this like savior programming. And I like Catherine Austin Fitz is calling this QAnon thing the hope porn. I love that. That's perfect.
Yeah, I love her.
But it's like Benjamin Fulford 2.0. Really? Yeah,
and Nasara, or the cabal is going to be arrested, or all that kind of stuff, or there's going to be disclosure, like there's not going to be disclosure. Stop.
It's crap. It is crap.
Would you even believe anything they said at this point anyway if they did disclose? Like, I wouldn't. No. Yeah.
It would be so but these people, the problem is the crossing of these truth communities. You've got these people following QAnon who are also following the Sphere Alliance.
Right, of course.
You know, so
I was hoping you'd bring that up at some point. Those are my favorite. Like that's the whole thing. It's like, and we have certain personalities that are being pushed forward massively who are touting both of those material. And there's this like funny crossover between the QAnon material and that, and like Robert David Steele, and I don't know. The whole thing is like, it just doesn't stop it. Just stop it. Like, there's not going to be like, and why, if you know something and you are experiencing something, why do you need somebody else to say it's true to justify that is something you understand? Like, there's already, like the only disclosure that's ever going to come that's going to mean anything for you is the one from you. You're right. Like, I don't, at this point, if the government told me anything was happening, I'd think the opposite was happening.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I don't understand why people who completely say they distrust the government are hoping that the government
looking for them to tell them.
Or quote you the Bible.
Right. It's so stupid. It's, you know what I mean? So I like Catherine Austin Fitz' the hope porn thing, but that was really good. I don't agree with him about everything, but Daniel List was talking with Joseph Farrell about this the other day too. And Daniel List pointed out that the fear porn wasn't working anymore. And so they decided to switch to the hope porn. And I agree.
Yeah.
People got fatigued of fear. Like, people are fatigued of the Alex Jones kind of nonsense and whatever. And that every day, there's collapse is going to come, and the martial law is going to come, and there's going to be a military.
Oh my God! It's
people get tired of that, and so that kind of control wasn't working. People were breaking free from that. So now some people who had really broken a lot of their other programming have now fallen into this one really, really heavy. And there's I talk about, there's this thing called truther programming, and we're watching it in action.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Also, two more things I thought of while you were talking about that. It is also an expression of the apocalypse. You're seeing the true colors of these people. It's it's truth being revealed to you.
The exposure.
And also the whole thing of switching from fear porn to hope porn is really the Disney Monsters Inc. plot.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
I find that more and more lately. That's a background plot, or can be applied to as a background plot for more and more conspiracy theory.
I find that with a lot of Disney movies, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be one of the reasons Disney programming is so prevalent with youth, because it gets in your head and spins this yarn, or
also
helps to anchor yarns in the future.
Mickey Mouse ears are like satellite dishes on your head, so it opens you up to all sorts of crazy ideas and broadcasts and 5G and program Wi-Fi, all that stuff, for sure.
Which is one thing I was going to mention too. When you said you close your eyes and then you get a scene, I usually have like a plate glass window, like a huge window, and I'm looking out a window. That's how it works for me.
I've had that before too, and I know some people who always see it that way.
Yeah, different things out there, but it clicks on. I'm like, wow, what's this? That's very cool, but are you picking up someone else's dream? Is it being broadcast? Those are all interesting things. But anyway, I don't want to keep you guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, this was awesome.
This was our longest, both Nox Mente and Post Horis. Now this was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I really, and it was so nice to meet you, Nish.
This was a pleasure.
Yeah, I know you're not on Facebook or whatever, but get my email address from Jerry or something. Hit me up sometime. I'd love to chat with you. You're very interesting.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And Jerry, I was just going to say.
I'm teasing.
Jerry, I'm glad that we got to reconnect, because of that whole little experience with the group. Like, you were part of the people that kind of I met in that little thing. I liked you the most. So I was very glad when that was kind of weird the way some of that kind of went down. You know what I mean?
That was extremely weird the way that went down.
Yeah. And so I just kind of pulled away. And when I saw you pop up again at certain points commenting on Randy stuff, and I just sort of said hi to you, and I was glad that there was, things were cool between us, because I mean, there was no reason for them not to be. I've never done anything to anybody,
I have no ill will towards anyone. Maybe that Ariana chick a little bit, because it was her fault, but
I'm oblivious to all this. Great.
Yeah, I don't even really. Yeah, I'm sort of oblivious to it too, But anyway, I was super glad when you asked me to come on the show. It was nice to reconnect with you.
I've been meaning to. Yeah.
Chat more often anyway, and
definitely. You, me, and Og were supposed to have a chat about space at one point.
Yeah, I haven't. Og and I don't really chat anymore. We every once in a while on Facebook, or I sent him a little note on his birthday or whatever. I like Og very much as a person, but there's just a little much going on there. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
I only wish him well. I think I'm sure at some point we'll be able to chat again and whatever. But I only wish him well, and I really hope that he's able to find himself and the real himself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
definitely. All right. Well,
yeah.
thanks,
All right, guys.
And anytime you want to talk, we can. And you should come on one of my hives when I have one sometime. If you're not busy on a Friday night.
So, sometimes I work a lot, but sometimes I'm available. And if you let me know ahead of time, might be able to work it out, whatever. And yeah, I look forward to speaking again with both of you. Thank you very much. This is awesome.
All right. Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right. Good night.